It's time to get familiarized with commands in Tana. In this lesson, we will learn how to structure these Tana commands, including the most important components and how they all fit together to program and to configure the actions that we want Tana to execute. So as we've seen, commands are a way to program specific actions in Tana. And what this enables us to do is to move from an unorganized relationship with meetings to a situation where we are much more in control. And this means we can have different types of meetings and even to set up searches and important commands for each specific type of meeting. This is going to help us to automate certain actions and to save time and to be much more in control of what happens in our meetings, after our meetings, and before the next meetings that we can have. So let's get started and let's understand the structure of Tana commands. Here in the right, you can see the structure for these commands in Tana. And here we have 4 very important components. So let's take a quick look at all of them. The first one you see here is the custom command itself. So this is where you have the freedom to choose what are the different actions that you want this command to execute. The system command is a very important concept here, and it represents the pre-configured or predetermined actions that you can take inside Tana. So here in this example, you see that the system command or the pre-designed action here is to insert a relative date. And in order to configure a system command, we are always going to be using parameters. Parameters are fields that explain to this system command how we want it to be configured. And in this case, we are going to be using this parameter where we will explain the relative date that we want to insert. And finally, all of these parameters have values. So the value is the actual information that we put into the parameter that is going to determine how this system command operates. So let's take a quick look at an example so that everything makes sense. Here on the left, you can try for yourself this example of onboarding command. This command is going to change the value of this field called type to onboarding. So let's expand this meeting and see how this works. Here you will see this meeting has a field for its type. And when we click this command, we are going to set this type to onboarding. This field now has the onboarding value. So let's expand this custom command and understand how these 4 components come together in order to execute this specific action. Here you can see that this custom command called onboarding has a system command called set field values. And this system command, if we open its configuration, we can see there is a parameter called fields to set. And inside this parameter, the value of the parameter is this configuration of the type field to the onboarding value. And when we put everything together, we are instructing this specific command called onboarding to set the field value of type to the onboarding value. So this is what happens when we click this onboarding command. Now let's take a look at another example, this time for this custom command called follow up in 3 days. This command is configured inside the action item tag. And here you can see that it's going to change the date of the deadline field for this action item in this specific configuration of today plus 3 days. Now let's click this command and see how it works. So as you can see, this is going to set this action item's deadline for Wednesday, April 30th, which is 3 days later than today, Sunday, April 27th. Now let's take a look at the configuration, because here you will see the familiar structure that we explained in this example. In this case, the follow-up in 3 days is the custom command. And inside this custom command, we are using the system command for the insert relative date. And inside this command, we have two parameters. The first one is this relative date string. And this is going to define which date is going to be filled in by this insert relative date command. And as we have seen, this is configured for in 3 days. So here is where you can specify using natural language when do you want this date to be configured to. This is the value of the parameter. And finally, we have this second parameter, which is the target node. And this is going to define where this information is going to be saved. Or in other words, where will the result from this command be added inside this action item super tag. And this is the deadline field. So this is a reference to the deadline field, which means the output of this command will be added to the deadline field. So these are two basic examples of custom commands with a breakdown of how this configuration works. And to summarize what we covered in this video, we can say that system commands are like the building blocks for the custom commands. They represent what are the available actions that we can take, and they perform these basic actions by interacting directly with the Tana environment. And finally, parameters configure how the actions are going to be executed by describing and configuring the behavior itself. And in the next lesson, we will be diving deeper into how to build these custom commands. Hey there, I hope you are enjoying and learning a lot from these lessons. And if you are, I would like to invite you to check out the interactive learning kit that accompanies this course. By purchasing this, you're not only supporting my work, you're also getting access to the interactive Tana workspace that you see in these videos with the commands, configurations, lesson material, and some extra benefits to help you learn faster and have a premium experience using Tana Commands. So check it out and learn more using the link in the description below or by scanning the QR code that you can see in your screen. Good learning, and I'll see you in the next